As we look ahead to next year, could it be a rebound year for the Broncos, Will?
I think it could, JT. Look at a year from now. There are a lot of guys, a lot of Broncos on the NFL draft radar, so to speak. I know it's a long way out. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, so to speak, but you and I love the draft, and it's always fun to talk about it. In terms of a year from now, some potential guys from Boise State's roster on the NFL draft and scouting radars, you have to start with wide receiver Khalil Shakir. He has been flat out phenomenal all throughout his entire Boise State career since he arrived on campus. When you think about Khalil Shakir, you think similarly to Avery Williams. You think playmaker. Just get the ball in his hands and good things happen, JT.
He is such a unique player, and I feel like he is a trendy player in the sense that everybody now, whether it be college or pro, wants a guy as versatile as Khalil Shakir. We've seen him line up in the backfield at running back, at quarterback, obviously at wide receiver. In just about every spot there is to play at wide receiver. This guy's going to have so much value a year from now because of what he can do both physically and mentally. Really excited to see how high Khalil can climb in terms of his draft stock in the next 12 months. After Khalil, it's probably not quite as obvious, but there's a guy on the offensive line at Boise State that deserves some attention, and I'm not even talking about a tackle at this point. Those guys are good, but I think there's one on the interior that's going to be generating some significant draft buzz over the next year.
Yeah, JT, we got to give some love to the big fellas up front, the hog mollies, so to speak. You have two very talented bookends on that Boise State offensive line next fall and seniors. Jake Stets, who's the interior guy that we're talking about at guard, showed some versatility too. He can boot out wide to tackle if need be, but I think moving forward at the next level, probably his position of choice is likely guard. He's just simply a mauler. Oftentimes when you're watching the Boise State run game, which side of the line of scrimmage are they running behind? Oftentimes it's Jake Stets' side. The other guy that you need to keep an eye on for, and how cool will this be potentially, Giannajuku, right? A former Boise Brave. JT, you and I have seen John grow up in front of our eyes, literally and physically over the last 5 years. He's blossomed into a fantastic football player at Boise State, anchors that line on the left side at that left tackle position. You look at Boise State's history as well at that left tackle position, translating to the NFL draft and the NFL. Exciting times ahead for this duo, JT.
Man, I might get myself in trouble for saying this, Will, but I remember OJ coming out of high school and looking at his lower half and thinking, like, he kind of looks like he's standing on sticks. And now he's got trunks down there. I can't wait to see if John can go tackle this and maybe become an NFL draft pick. That Boise State left tackle spot, it's produced a ton of NFL draft talent. I think you're going to see John follow in the footsteps of the guys before him. Moving to the defensive side of the ball really quick, Will. You know, on the defensive line, stats don't always translate into production or doing your job well. So sometimes it can be tough to interpret. But moving forward this year, I think Scaly Gahan is going to be a guy that produces some significant stats up front.
Certainly agree with you, JT. You look at Scaly Gahan physically, you go, wow, he stands out. He's an off-the-bust factor type of guy, and he has the production to back it up. Poised for a big-time senior season ahead this fall. I think the big thing when you look at defensive tackles and production and tackles for loss and sacks, maybe those numbers aren't big compared to defensive ends and other defensive linemen standouts. But I think one of the big critical key aspects of being a defensive tackle at the next level is just being so strong and stout in the run game. Yeah. And that's what Scaly Gahan brings to the table. The other thing, in terms of Scale's senior season next fall, he's going to have a ton of help, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks, with that Boise State deep defensive line. It's going to free up some one-on-one opportunities for him this fall.
Yeah, he's going to be more fresh this fall. Won't have to play so many snaps. Will, I appreciate it. Coming up after the break, we're actually going to have more with Will. We take you down to the prep level for some highlights. That and more on Sunday Sports Extra.